Welcome to Anger Point Brendmo Business Hub. My name is Mollen Mukuze. I'm the Managing Director of Brendmo Accountants. We are accountants for business growth. Someone might say, what do you mean? Because as Brendmo, we partner with businesses, helping them achieve their financial strength through the top line growth as well as the increase in their bottom line. The business of today is to clearly spell out the difference between a director, a shareholder, and an employee within a company for continual reminder and for you not to miss out of the premium content that enables your business to grow. Like and subscribe to this channel. Okay, it's of paramount importance to understand the distinction between the director, a shareholder, and an employee, especially in the small to medium business environment. Many people are unaware of the difference between these roles, especially in many small to medium sized business environment, because the same individual might be fulfilling all roles or the three roles. In a true sense, the roles are distinct and should be recognized as such. If you are currently a 2-in-1 or 3-in-1, you should be aware of the different hats that you are wearing and ensure that you wear them correctly when performing each designated role. Maybe one day when you decide to quit one role, it will be helpful to understand which role you are quitting. For example, you may quit being a shareholder within an organization by selling your shares while continuing working for the organization as a director or as an employee. Or when your directorship employment is terminated, it does not necessarily mean you are no longer a shareholder of that organization. Okay, just because you no longer play one or two characters, it doesn't imply that you no longer play the other role that you had previously. This is important, especially when the company decides to restructure later on. Okay, let's look at the roles of each of them. Who is a director? What is his or her responsibility within a company? A director is responsible for determining the company's strategy and directing how the company conducts its operations. The Companies Act, the Memorandum of Incorporation, as well as the shareholders control the duty of the company director. Directors are often appointed by shareholders of the company. For their duties, directors are compensated via directors' remunerations or director's fee, depending if they are executive or non-executive. Okay, let's define what is an executive, what is a non-executive director. An executive director is in charge of the company's day-to-day operations. On the other hand, the non-executive director are not necessarily involved in the day-to-day operations of the company, and instead, they focus on providing expert advice to management. They also have to be independent in most cases and provide impartial advice to management. In other words, executive directors are paid employees of the company via the director's salary or director's remuneration. The board of directors is in charge of the day-to-day operations of the company. Section 76 of the Companies Act in South Africa and the common law require directors to conduct the business in accordance with the standards or the requirements set forth in that section. You should also be aware of Section 77 of the same Companies Act, which makes it possible for directors to be held accountable for certain losses and damages that the company incurs. It's very important to know that the directors have a fiduciary duty towards the company and its stakeholders. Be aware that the minute you are appointed as a director, it's very important to understand the requirements for Section 76 and 77. When you're appointed as a director, you actually need to be registered with the CIPC, which is the Company and Intellectual Property Commission. Similarly, when the director's contract is terminated, the director must be removed from the CIPC records by following certain procedures. Directors may voluntarily resign or may be dismissed in accordance with the Companies Act or Shareholders Agreement. Most of the time, the shareholders will come and vote on who will serve as directors of their company at various times. Okay, having explained what a director is and their roles within a company and also their compensation, let's move on to the shareholders. A shareholder is a person who owns or who holds shares in a company. The Companies Act, the Memorandum of Incorporation, or the Shareholders Agreement control the relationship between the shareholders within an organization. Where there are two or more shareholders, it's very, very important to have the shareholders agreement in place. Even if the shareholders are couples or best friends or siblings, the company should keep a share register where the shareholders' names are recorded and the percentage share they hold within the organization is also indicated. Shareholders usually participate in the operation of the company at special meetings as they are not able to do so on a regular basis or on daily basis unless the shareholder is also a director of the company, the two-in-one that I mentioned earlier on. Under normal circumstances, shareholders have the opportunity to vote on specific issues during the annual general meetings. Shareholders are shareholders because they would have purchased the shares or subscribed to the shares that are issued to them by the company. In other words, they hold shares. They acquired the shares. Okay, in South Africa, shareholders do not necessarily need to register with the CIPC in order for them to operate. Usually, their status will only change should they decide to sell their shares under the terms of sale of shares agreement. It's important to know that this disposal triggers capital gains tax, another topic for another day. Shareholders are compensated via dividends, that is profit distribution payments to shareholders at the end of the year. Okay, having said this, if you are starting a company with more than one shareholder, it's very important to have the agreements in place before the company starts operating. Be warned. Don't be too excited and jump on starting the company without necessary structures and documents in place. Another function apart from being a director or shareholder is being an employee of a company. An employee is a person who is employed by the business and who does work for that company. In most cases, the connection or the relationship is governed by an employment contract as well as applicable laws and regulations. Employees are paid salaries for the work they do within the organization. And it's very important when the shareholders take on these three roles, especially in a small organization, it will be important for the shareholders to agree upfront that if one of them no longer works for the company, they will quit as a director as well as sell their shares to other shareholders. In summary, we have identified the difference between the shareholder, the director, and the employee. And we also outlined their duties and responsibilities within a company. We also touched on their forms of compensation. Hope you have found this video useful. If you did, hit the like button and comment on the section below. Do you know your role and your duty within your company? Thank you. Bye.